The area we're going to work on is all nice and clean. We've even pre-warmed the metal. As stated already, extraction began at the top, finished at the bottom. Installation will begin at the bottom, finish at the top. We have a brand new part right here. So I'm not sure what this thing here is, but it does have a nice fit over top of the rubber boot, up against that collar or stopper of our new part. And our cap will sit under here as such as our pusher. As for our receiver, the real estate we have to work with here is not overly even. So I do have a bearing race with some material removed that enables it to sit flat. And then the cap can sit over there, and that is our receiver. Oh no, I don't have the distance. Hey, what about a chunk of steel? So I think it's imperative that this goes in straight. So we might just use the little bar until we see motion. The deeper it goes, the more resistance you start to get, as you would expect. Right. According to our various workshop manuals, the operation we're performing can only be done 3 times. Or after that, you need to replace your axle housing. It smells expensive. I think that plan, I think it's good. Lovely. Moving on to our top bowl joint, which is going to be pushed in from the top down. The real estate for our receiver is even worse than it was on the bottom. So, okay, so it's going to be a little difficult for you to be able to come in and have a look at this. So I've got my phone. I'm going to take a few pictures so you can have a look. So you can see these ridges that we got there, and that surface is not flat with this one. All right, so it's going to be a proper little monster to navigate. So to overcome this obstacle, we've created this straddler, which is the same bearing race we used down the bottom, and we've had some material removed there, so it, as the name suggests, straddles the ridges, and then a little bit of material moved off here so it can sit more flatter. The other problem we're going to run into as well, because this is coming down through there, if we heat this up too much, we could damage the rubber boot. So we've got to be very careful with that. Now I'm going to use a copper hammer to see if I can get a start on it. Just about went all the way in. Alright, cap in there, and we'll put a cap straight there on top. Put that in there. Getting things lined up correctly, that's the biggest challenge of all this, I think. That went a little too easy. Hopefully it's not bugging. Now we can clean up our hub carrier. We pay special attention not just to the face, but also inside where the hub's going to sit, and also where our brake calipers mount. Well, we've cleaned up our hub carrier. Down the bottom's a tensioner collet, which I've wound out just to clean it up and have a look at it and try to limit some resistance. I want to set the top one first if I can. So I think we're ready to offer it up. There. Jack in there. So my reasoning for using the jack here is because it pushes the carrier up into the ball joint's taper, which gives it the friction to stop the threads from spinning as we tighten the nut. Tensioner. Our top nut's getting torqued down to 81 foot-pounds. Oh my word. Oh, that's it. And the bottom one doing down to 100 foot-pounds. There we are. Now if we see the steering stop is landing right flush where it should be, so I'm very happy about the hub carrier's location. We've got our axle in the vise, protected by a rubber mat. Now our CV boot is in quite good condition considering its age. Now do note, its position on the CV is towards the back. There's a reason for that. Now to get it off, we're going to start by snipping the rear clamp. As you would expect, we're going to swap out this entire unit, so rather than try and hacksaw through the front band, we're just going to cut around the rubber, as you see. It's a messy business. And then we'll slice it down the guts and peel it away. Now with that out of the way, hopefully our axle's secure. We're probably going to aim for about there with our copper hammer. On the end of our axle here, we find ourselves a circlip, and according to the Haynes manual and the workshop manual, there's meant to be a spacer behind it. However, not on the first or this one do we find a spacer, and my friends over at Atlantic British or Rovers North know not of which I speak. So I don't know what to tell you. We're going to carry on and pretend it doesn't exist. In our box of new parts, we're going to find a CV, a boot kit, and a new circlip. So our boot needs to go on first. It's a bit tight and sticky, so some CV grease, that might help it to slide home. Then we want to fold it back on itself, give ourselves some room to work. Now it's time to offer up our CV joint. You have to be very careful we don't snag the circlip on the way in. It stays in its groove. And we'll pack these bearings full of grease. Oh yes.
In addition to the grease, our kit also came with some CV boot clamps, of which there are only 2, so you can't stuff it up. Now, if you're a guy like me, who probably will, then when you purchase your special CV boot clamp crimp tool, you'll buy yourself a whole pile of spare clamps. Alright, as for our clamp, there's little hooks you'll see under there. Wrap it around like such. Hook them in. Hold that. Beautiful thing. Going to put on a thinnish smear of anti-seize grease on the mating faces where our hub will sit. Things are going to move along relatively quickly now that we're about to install our hub, because the precious book calls for some Loctite 640 to be wrapped around those splines. We don't have Loctite 640, we've got Loctite Light, so we'll use a bit of that. Then our 4 bolts at the back and our hub nut all need to be torqued down before that sets. One with our bracket. Can't forget our bracket. Alright, these ones are going down to 100 foot-pounds. Alright, they're in. Alright, so this brute is going to need to be torqued up to 360 foot-pounds. So I don't think there's a torque wrench on the planet that goes up that high. So we got 150 on ours. Then swap over to a big breaker bar and we'll just do what we can. I don't know what that is, but it's just what we got. if we have a little look around the back, we can see how close our speed sensor cable sits to the CV joint. And when we rigged up our boot, now there's a little groove at the back of the CV joint where the clamp sits, but just say you were to be a little tempted to increase your real estate and push it more forward, you can see that lump on the clamp. I think that lump would catch your cable. Before we install our brake backing plate, we have to remember there's a little bracket that also holds our wheel sensor cable, and that sits right there, okay, in behind our plate, like such. So we can install this first. Pop our bracket in behind, line up the holes, thread lock our little bolts, screw them in. On my brake caliper, I need to crack these two bolts here, and they're on pretty tight, so I don't think I can do it with it hanging. I'm going to have to temporarily reinstall it before we put on our disc. Oh my God. Well, our torque wrench settings for the caliper carrier, I believe, are 175 foot-pounds, so we got 150. Finish it off with the breaker bar. Certify we've done the job correctly, we're going to take our Chariot for a test drive and hope nothing falls off.